Great books help you understand, and they help you feel understood. This quotation from John Green is one of the many reasons why we need to be reminded again and again of the importance of reading. Hello, grade 9 learners. This is Teacher Christine, and I will be with you in this journey of making connections between texts, particular issues, concerns, or dispositions in real life. Make sure you have with you your pen, learning activity sheet, so we can start. Before anything else, here are the objectives that will guide us in this learning experience. Make connections to the texts being read. Explain how the elements specific to a selection build its theme. And with those in mind, let's continue. When you read, is it easy for you to connect with it? Do you often imagine yourself in what you are reading? Does it remind you of things from your life? Good for you if you answer yes to all the questions. Now, what do you get from connecting with the text you are reading? Here are some of them. The more closely the reader connects to the text, the higher the level of comprehension. Students who make connections while reading are better able to understand the text they are reading. When you make connections to the texts that you are reading, it helps you to make sense of what you read, retain the information better, and engage more with the text itself. Do these two benefits make you want to know more? Well then, watch, participate, and learn.
How do we make connections? Here are some tips. Visualize. This means you imagine you are in the story. Then think of how the setting and characters look. Another tip, focus on the characters. In other words, you can ask the question, do the characters remind you of yourself or other people you know? Third tip, put yourself in the story. If you were in the same situation with that of the character or characters in the story you read, how would you react? Or what would your reaction be? Fourth tip, look at problems. Are the problems met by the character or characters similar or different to what you have encountered? Fifth tip, ask yourself questions as you read. Examples, how does the story relate to your life? Or, how does the story relate with what you already know? The last tip is, when reading non-fiction, stories which are factual or real, try to see how this information you read relate to things you already know. Aside from the tips, we also have prompts to guide us on how we can relate to a text. These prompts are the types of text connections. The first type is the text-to-self connections. In here, the focus is the connection between the text and the reader's personal experience. As a reader, we may connect ideas presented in the text with our thoughts, past experiences, with our friends or family members. This type of connection could sound like, this is similar or different to my life. Something like this happened to me. This reminds me of. This relates to me. Or, when I read this, I felt. So see class, you have a lot of choices to choose from. For our example, we choose the line, this is different from my life. Before we can have an example, let's go over the summary of the story, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. You can read with me. A Christmas Carol is a play about a mean-spirited and selfish old man, Ebenezer Scrooge, who hates Christmas. One cold Christmas Eve, Scrooge is unkind to the people who work for him, then refuses to give to charity, and then is rude to his nephew when he invites him to spend Christmas with him. When Scrooge gets home, he is visited by the ghost of his old business partner, Jacob Marley, and then by three ghosts. They are the ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. The ghost of Christmas past takes Scrooge on a journey through Christmases from his past, taking Scrooge to see himself as an unhappy child and a young man more in love with money than his fiancée. The ghost of Christmas present shows Scrooge his clerk, Bob Cratchit's family. At Bob Cratchit's house, Scrooge sees Tiny Tim, who is very ill but full of spirit. The ghost then takes him to see his nephew Fred's Christmas celebrations, which he had been invited to but rebuffed. Finally, the ghost of Christmas future terrifies Scrooge by showing him visions of his own death. The ghost's journey through time teaches Scrooge the error of his ways. When he wakes up on Christmas Day, he is full of excitement and buys the biggest turkey in the shop for the Cratchit family before spending the day with his nephew, full of the joys of Christmas. Going back to the type text-to-self connections, here is a concrete example. The story Christmas Carol is different from my life because I never hated Christmas. As far as I can remember, I have always looked forward to each Christmas day that comes until now. The second type is text-to-text connections. This occurs when something in the text reminds the reader of a previously read text. This sounds like, "This reminds me of another text I've read." "This is similar to another story I read." "This character is similar or different to another character." "This setting is similar or different to another setting." This time, let's use the line, "This character is similar or different to another character." Referring back to the story Christmas Carol, our example is, "The character of Ebenezer Scrooge is similar to the character of the Grinch in the story How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss in terms of personality." They both have awful personality: greedy, stingy, grumpy, selfish miser. These two characters both hated Christmas, but in the end, they changed their perspective about Christmas and came to love it. The last type is text-to-world connections. This is often defined as relating something in the text to a past, current, present, or future event. It is asking about how ideas in the text relate to the larger world. This sounds like, "This reminds me of the real world." "This book is similar to the things that happen in the real world." "This book is different from things that happen in the real world." For our example, let's have the line, "This reminds me of the real world." The story Christmas Carol reminds me of things that are happening in the real world, like those people who see money, earning much money more than enjoyment, as the source of happiness. In reality also, there are people who are full of bitterness, thus they become unkind.
With that, I hope you were able to be convinced that connecting with what you are reading is very important. As highlighted a while ago, visualize, focus on the characters, put yourself in the story, look at problems, ask yourself questions as you read, and relate the information read with what you already know. And I guarantee you, your reading becomes worthwhile. It is now time for you to answer the activities found on pages 3 to 8 of your learning activity sheet. Do not forget to write your answers on your answer sheet. And that's it for now. Keep that smile, and I'll see you again next time, only here at DepEd MP TV.